I remember when I was 12, my parents and I, we took a tour at the Walt Disney Animation Studio in Orlando, and it was wonderful to actually see an animation studio, but however, it was apparent that the secrets that they have was definitely elusive to the outsider. Because here as a tourist, we were behind a plexiglass, so that plexiglass was pretty much like a solid metaphor for like that veil as mystery. But so flashing forward, I still wanted to learn animation, but just it was impossible at the time, because in order to learn, you would have to go to out-of-state university or a private college or even overseas, and it was virtually impossible for me at the time. Earlier last year or so that I started to take animation courses, and I'm telling you, I have seen so many online animation courses, but there was always still that veil of mystery. Flash forward to this year, I came across AMB's YouTube channel, AMB Real Animators Training, and I was blown away. I just couldn't believe, the knowledge that he was putting out there, the lectures that he was doing. It just pretty much ripped that veil of mystery off the face of the earth. And the thing that really sets his archive, his online lectures and stuff apart from everyone else is the basics. That's the one thing that a lot of the books, a lot of the online animation stuff lack, was the extreme basics. And when I started on that archive, I started understanding the spacing, the timing, the arcs, the slow in, the slow out, and with each exercise it builds up on each other, and as a result I start seeing the arcs. I start understanding and timing things in my head, and it was just so fascinating. And because of that, it just helped revive my lifelong desire of learning animation. And it just made me so happy that I'm able to pursue and to dream of becoming an animator. So thank you.
So, are you gonna join the library?
Hello, and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Livestream. Right, well, we're going to be beginning a new archive for the Edutainment Archives in the Real Animator Training Library. Something that I've been looking forward to doing is making a study of the ever impressive or prolific subject matter that is anime fight scenes. Now I'm going to be approaching this in a different way to what I originally planned. I'm going to be looking at one fight scene in particular, and I'm just not going to be focusing too much on creating beautiful drawings. We will do some of that, don't worry, but we are going to be looking at everything. We're going to be looking at the timing, the laws of animation in these things. We're going to be looking at timing. We're going to be looking at staging, the cross-cutting, what makes it appealing. This is what we want to understand. I feel that after almost 5 years of starting this thing with Real Animator Training, we've come a long way. I've pretty much shown you all how to animate. I've done Little Red, I've done the Santa thing, we're building Groundhopper. I've pretty much put out all of the the highest expression of Disney grade animation. We've been studying that. We've been focusing on that. That has always been the agenda of AMB Animation, Real Animator Training Library. Now I've pretty much done, and I'm not done and dusted with that, but what you've seen me turn out there is as good as what you're gonna get in the cinema, from Disney or whatever. So now let's look at something else. Let's look at what else is appealing out there. I want to understand it. I want to learn. To be very honest with you, I've picked a fight that I don't personally think is that great from an animation standpoint, but I wanted to be. I didn't want to go back to stuff that only I know. Um, I wanted to be a little bit. This isn't current. This isn't like what's trending now. I could have easily looked at Arcane or some of those fight specific things on Netflix. I could have looked at One Punch Man, which is now old. But I wanted to look at something that's huge, but that's still kind of current, but still kind of rooted, got some roots in it. It's not a flavor of the month thing. It's proven itself. Um, I was very disappointed actually when I was looking for the fights. I thought this thing would be bad. I've never really watched the show. I've got friends who love it and always telling me I should watch it, and I thought this thing would be packed with great fights. Uh, I find that I must admit I was a little bit disappointed, but I found one fight. I still think it's just too quick and it doesn't really have any impact or power in the blows and the strikes, and it just moves too fast. But I found something in there that had some emotional content, as Bruce Lee would say, and there was some interesting things in there. So I spent almost a week looking for a fight to break down, and while this one isn't necessarily the best animation wise, it's got something to it that I think it's got interesting cuts, it's got dynamic angles, it's got good staging. So I wanted to cover all of these animation laws as we look at this fight. I don't just want to. You're going to see me doing pretty much of the same thing. A lot of but I'm not going to be working on the drawings so much to make them as accurate or as beautiful as I have in other breakdowns, because we need to. This is going to be a training library archive, not for the training, for the edutainment archives. So we need to focus on, we've got other breakdowns in there which are, isn't it nice drawing and all that. We need to focus on what makes it work and look at those things and look at the laws in there. So, okay, I'm gonna first say a few hellos, and then 8 minutes in already, we haven't started yet. Maybe it'll allow some people to get on board or some people to go away. I don't know. We've got the usual suspects. I'm going to say a few hellos to you, and then we're going to start studying this. Kakashi versus Obito, Naruto Shippuden. See, I don't even know how to pronounce it. There we go. But the fight was interesting, so we're gonna look at that. Okay, Garrett Animations, hello there. How are you? Cameron Allen Davidson Black, good to see you. Dylan Draws, yes, it is happening for you, my friend. Dexterous Fox, the amazing life fantasy, the adorable Kitchen Cat. Silver Sun, I hope it is going to be awesome. With me at the helm, it probably is going to be above awesome, but there you go. Charlene Giles, how are you? Deruji, Unusual. Well, there you go, Silver Sun. That gave you my decision to break this down. And of course, I'm going to be doing Groundhopper's big fight with the tiger. Now, I'm a martial artist myself. I've been storyboarding for years, and I've been storyboarding action as well. And I've got my own way of doing things, but I think before I go and do that, it would be interesting just to see what I can learn from these Japanese anime fights, because they are extremely popular. And while they may not be 100% to my taste in most cases, I would be a fool not to think that there was anything for me to learn from them personally either. So I'm going to enjoy this myself. Okay, so right, the chat is done. I'm not going to talk to you while we are doing the archive. The edutainment archives are great, but I'm now going to think about making them a little bit more less chat, more content. They were always that, but how about no chat, more content? Okay, so let's go do this. Right, hello, and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Livestream. Okay, so we are going to be studying a fight scene from Naruto Shippuden called Kakashi versus Obito. Now, I'm going to be looking at, before I begin, I'm going to be looking at animation law, okay, when we do these breakdowns. We will be focusing on drawing too, because one of the animation laws is staging, right? Staging is many things. Staging can be editing, right? But staging is also pacing, which is, in other words, one of the law of timing, right? And also it is shot composition, which also could be called framing, right? So it's a lot of continuity, blah blah blah. A lot of these filmmaking practices go into staging, okay? And of course we're going to be looking at appeal, because no question about it, these things have proven themselves to have mass appeal, because everybody seems to love them. So without further ado, let's go and look at this now. The YouTube video I'm looking at is by something called Crunchyroll. So I'm just gonna start. And the first shot that I see here is, I'm gonna start by mapping out the silhouettes, right? I'm gonna map out the silhouettes before I do anything, which is gonna look at the shot staging. Let me just check if you can all hear my mic. Yeah, my mic's good. Right, let's continue. Don't want any technical issues happening while I go about doing this stream. Right, so this is essentially, the first shot is I would call this an extreme close-up, right? And what I like to do when I do these things is I like to map my map what's going on here. So this first shot, his head is gonna lower down, right? So there's gonna be an anticipation. His shoulders come up. So I'm looking for the keyframes, right? I'm not trying to do this shot by shot. So the things I see in the keyframes is the usual head down, shoulders up thing. Let me just see what his ears, how much movement is on his ears. They're kind of keeping the ears, okay, there's volume growth in the ear hair, but it works. And I'm going to tell you why they've done that, right? So really what happens here, right, doesn't really change, right? But what happens in here will change. And so all of you anime fanboys, that love all this, what seemingly more detailed drawing, which actually isn't, but there you go. Anyway, I'm gonna be kind. Okay, so behave yourself, AMB, right? So this, what this is basically is you're always asking me about solid drawing, and you're always worried about, we'll call volume, right, and size changing, right. Well, I've been always telling you it's all about, the way to maintain volume and the way to maintain size is to lose volume, okay? Is to lose volume and maintain and lose and change size, right? How counterintuitive that is. And we're going to be looking at that with this shot here, right? Because that illustrates it brilliantly, because his head's going down, right? And his, let me just do that, right, when I put it in this mode. And his shoulders are coming up. And we can't see anything at the moment because I'm just doing the silhouettes. But we'll talk about that, right, later on. Right, so here, now, his head is gonna shoot forward. Here, his ears come down, right? So, again, we always do the silhouette pass, right? So as his head shoots forward, forgive me while I just keep flipping and studying what I can see, right? So everything kind of stays the same here, but his ear just moves a little bit down, right? Here like this. And I believe his shoulders move down as well, yes. So his shoulders move down. So the first shot, at the moment, you just see nothing but a head here, and it's not going to make much sense to you. But I like to do this because it's you know, this, if you follow what I do, if you want to study animation scenes and you do it this way, you're going to become a much better draftsman, and you're going to know, you're going to understand how this all works. Because animation, as I've always called it, is the secret science of shape simplification. What you're seeing me doing here is dealing with the master shape, right? Before you get caught up with all the shape, the little shape, detailed shapes, right? You want to think about the master shape. Okay. Right, so this is interesting. So his ears kind of stay in the same place here. They don't move much. And everything, because his hair is kind of, wow, they really, you know, this is going to be interesting on the point of volume, you know, and these come down just a little bit. I'm going to, right. So this is the first shot, right? This is the first shot. This is all it is. We're going to do this as a shot by shot basis, right? And as we do this as a shot by shot basis, I'm going to break down each shot, and then I'm going to study the next shot, and we're going to see what the edit point is and what the composition is from a storyboarding point of view. Before I break down the next shot, sometimes you'll see me break down the next shot in silhouette mode. I'm not going to do that at the moment because this silhouette is just way too vague, right? Way too vague. So we're gonna ease into this by doing a little bit of drawing. Maybe it'll warm me up. You know, these are my first drawings of the morning here, so maybe this is gonna warm me up. Excuse me while I just get my first frame back. There we go. Right, so let's start breaking this down inside, right? So first thing I'm gonna look for is his sideburns, which cut into the ear, right? And just along there is going to be his eye line, right? And we're going to have the center line. These are the main things that I'm going to focus on. Right, so along his eye line, we've got his eyes, right? Which are this kind of shape. One, and we've got one eye in the middle, and we've got his other eye, which is this kind of shape here, right? Now, what's interesting up here is in line with his ears, right? We've got his eyebrows, which are making this kind of triangle in his head up here, right? So there's a lot of space down there. Now his nose is really difficult to see, but I'm just going to do something like that because we don't really see, you know, I'm kind of ad-libbing there. Don't really see much there. And then this comes down on this side, and this comes down on this side, right? So that's that. Now I'm going to deal with this hair a little bit more nicer, right? Again, I'm not going to tidy these drawings up. I'm going to leave them scraggly because we don't have time to do all that, right? It's not going to be like with my Thundercats breakdown. I'm just going to leave them like this, right? Because there's a lot of work to do, and we're here to learn and not watch me draw. There are plenty of other channels claiming to teach animation where you're just watching people draw. and getting a dopamine fix from that. That sometimes happens with the nature of what I do, but I always try to avoid that. Right. So here we've got like the outer structures of the ear. It's a bit dark and black. I don't know where the side of his hairline is, so I'm just going to do that. I could be wrong, but I'm just going to leave it like that. It feels right. So his shoulder actually is more shaped like this, and this one comes down here like that. Right. So there we go. That's that. Now, this is interesting. So what I want to think about for his hairstyle is he's got a really bastard hairstyle to animate, really. So we got one in the middle of this triangle. I've got like one hair like this. Now I've got this side and this side to think about these things, right? So we've got another one here, right, which comes in line with the first third of his eyebrow, right? And again, this is not really gonna teach me anything about animation, right? This is more gonna teach me about anime hair designs as I do this, right? So this comes to the edge of his eyebrow. This now comes out here. His sideburn comes in there like that. And to the side of his eye, we've got this hair like that, right? So that's that side sorted, right? So then we're going to do this side. One, this comes up here. This goes right up. It's really, I would never want to draw hair like this, but fair play. These guys, what they've done works. It's got a nice design sense. It's very, very flat. Normally, anime hair is a little bit more elaborate than this, but I always remembered liking the Naruto style. But I have to say, to be fair, this is a one strange paper Christmas crown hairstyle this guy has. Never mind. Right. So we've got that on that side. Now I can see that my drawing is a little off balance. I can immediately tell that I've got too much on this side and too little on this side. And if I was to flip it, there would be an error there. But you know what? As I said, I'm going to leave this rough. I'm not going to bother about fixing things like that because we're here to learn animation. And what I'm doing here is kind of good enough, really. It gets the point across. Right, now you'll notice I've made his eye shapes like this. So what we're going to study here, actually, before we go into the fight, which is another reason somebody asked why this particular fight, is this has got a good build-up, right? So we're looking at a purpose behind the fight here. We're looking at the staging. So we're looking at some close facial animation, right? Where they're really trying to talk with the characters' personality and faces, which is something which Disney do a lot, but I don't really see in anime so much, right? He's got an eye design like that. When I say I don't really see it in anime so much, those of you who actually study animation will know what I'm talking about. There are plenty of just wooden anime faces with glittering eyes and whatever, but no real attempt to really convey depth of personality through subtle facial movements and all that kind of stuff. But I did notice that there was some of that hair, which is another reason why I picked this fight. Now he's got one. I'm not going to be too concerned about how many rings are around his eye, right? I'm not really trying to draw 100% to model, as I said, right? So this eyebrow comes up here like this, and this one comes down in the middle there like that. I'm going to be spending a little bit of time on these close-ups, more so than the full body stuff, because this is what we're looking at. We're looking at how they're manipulating and moving the faces, right? That's what we're going to be looking at. So he's got a lot of interesting facial definition, right? So we've got some facial muscles on his face there, which is interesting. We've got this under eyelid, giving him a little bit of roundness to his face. Now I don't know what these are. I mean, I think the character is carrying some kind of scars or deformity or probably burn or something on his face. I don't know. The guy he's fighting looks a bit like the main Naruto character, but it doesn't say that's his name. So, as I said, I don't know the story, right? So, that's the first key frame. Now I'm going to study and I'm going to look at what's happening in the next frame, right? So that's we've got to see what these guys are doing in the next frame. What I might do is just take away this a little bit, right? Don't really need that. Right, so on the next frame that we're going to be looking at is the next keyframe. So I'm going to count this. It's a slow in, and it's a linear slow in. So you got 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 3 frames on 2. Hang on, let me double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So as you see me in real animator training, always talking about a quarter of a second registers as a hold to the eye. That doesn't mean it's a hold, but the eye will register that a little bit of time is taken there. So 6 out of 24 is a quarter of a second. So he does a subtle head dip that's 6 frames, right? It's linear movement, right? But it's 6 frames in. So his eye line, I'm going to see how low his eye goes. Almost half an eye width down. This is important, right? So his eye line is here, right? So his eye width goes, his eye line comes down almost half there like that. And I'm going to keep that line there for me, right? So this is important because remember how I talked about, look, his ears are still in the same place, but his eye has moved down, right? So all of you people worrying about volume control, you're going to see here that these guys are perfectly keeping volume unless you really look, and then, that's the point. If you keep looking, of course, you'll see the cheat. But, this was all an illusion of life. Let's not forget what it is. It's the illusion of life. That's what good animation is, right? So now his triangular brows are going to be more so down like that, right? His nose is now out of shot, right? These furrowed brows are coming down here. His hairstyle changes a little bit, which looks it's a bit strange. But again, I've often pointed this out. When it comes to the slow, subtle stuff, I don't think that's the strong point of these animations. This is a very linear movement, and in my personal opinion, it could have been timed a heck of a lot better, right? So these shoulders are going to be still, actually they should be coming up a bit, if I remember. Don't understand why I put them down. I remember the shoulders come up as the head goes down, right? Yeah. Wow. I'm sure I drew that way. Maybe I changed his shoulders on the original key. Anyway, if I rewatch this live stream, I'll understand why I did that, right? I'm pretty sure I pointed that out. Never mind. Okay. So here, what we're going to do, let's talk about this ear. This ear is practically not changing, right? Neither is this one. Because I'll tell you how you can get away with that, right? I'll tell you how you can get away with that. Because the ear has this thing called a helix around it, right? And this is the tegus, this is the antitegus, right? Then in here you got the concha, in here you got the antihelix, and the greater and superior crus of the ear. Now I want you to imagine that because this thing is round, when this thing tilts forward, right? So imagine this tilting forward like this, right? Depending on the shape of the ear, right? This length, right? So his head is tilting forward. this length is still gonna be, you're still gonna be okay. So you got to understand the science of shape simplification. When we animate with hand-drawn animation, you need to understand your shapes and what you can. Now granted, he's not doing much hair, he's just lowering his head. And to be honest, I'm gonna, maybe it does go wider, but for my own sanity I'm gonna do that, right? And it feels right. So now what's changing here is, again in line with his eyes, is the hairstyle. So his hairstyle is changing drastically. So on this middle line, right, this is moving in, right? I'm just gonna see, does his hair travel down, right? It does, just a little bit less so than it does on his eye line, right? So this is now coming in this way, right? And this is now coming this way. Heaven knows why they've done this, because it's not like there's wind. It's a slow head lowering, but in its own way, right? Now maybe some of you can understand why I'm not so particularly wowed by animation, right? Nothing wrong with this. I guess it doesn't really come across as an error, right? But it's just strange. It doesn't add to the subtleness of the movement. If I'm honest, I'm not trying to run this stuff down. I'm actually here to learn. I'm here to learn. But if I see something which I think, no, well, that could have been done a lot better and a lot more effectively, I don't really understand why. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm just gonna say what I think, right? So this is now gonna come down here like this. Now we're going to look at the eye. Now I do like the eye. I do like the eye design here. So he's kind of closing his eyelid down. So look at the change of shape in that, right? So he's closing his eyelid down, and we can see a very little bit of his eye is still there, which is kind of cool. As an inside, I always like to take my time on the eyes. The eyes are the mirror to the soul, and any animator worth his salt would do well to have that tattooed to their inner eyelids so they never forget it. Instead of just trying to mimic eye shapes that they've learned, or tricks to draw eyes, learn eyes, understand what they are, and then try to speak with them. And that's what this guy's trying to do, you know. This animator that's another good thing about this, is he's trying to speak with the character's eyes, right? These are the things that I was looking for when I was these are the things that I was looking for. My friend who composes my music is a huge Naruto fan. I can't really break what I'm doing at the moment, but he's just privately messaged me, no way. It makes me laugh. Right, so these are the things that I kind of like. Is the staging. As I said, if there's a fight, there's got to be a reason for it. And what I liked about this fight when I was watching it is, as it progresses, obviously these two that are having the combatants have history. And so right away at the beginning, as they're going for each other, with all this staging build-up, we can see that happening. Now, I'm not sure about the consistency of what's going on with his scars, but I'm drawing what I see, right? So I've got 1, 2, 1 down here like this, right? Okay, so those are the 2 keys. Now this is a 6 frames. Maybe if there's time I'll put an in-between in here, but I'm not interested in making this flow and look all fancy and nice. We're making an animation study. We're studying what it is. So I'm gonna write 6. I'm gonna go with the timing here, 1, 7. You know I like to start on ones, right? So that's literally 6 frames. And that timing chart there would be 1, and it's very linear, 1, 3. It's almost like it's on thirds, because I would have personally slowed it in like that, 1, 3, 5, 7. Oh yeah, 1, 3, 5, 7 on halves. But this guy has done it literally. He wants it to be a linear movement, so he's 1, 3, 5, 7, right? So that's literally what I'm going to do. I'm not going to draw any more to that, right? We're not babies anymore. If you don't understand that, and you've bought this archive and you're watching this in the edutainment archives, there's a basic archive, and you really want to understand that, go consider getting that, right? Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next frame. I'll just check how I'm doing for time, just so I can base myself on this as well. Okay, 35 minutes in, right? We had 8 minutes at the beginning before we started, right? So now this is the big change up. So this is the typical anime thing, right? So you spend a quarter of a second letting your eye just simmer on that, and then a massive change up is going to occur. Now I want to see what's happening here. His eye line is pretty much just a little bit lower, but his head's coming a lot bigger here, right? So these are the things to look for. So his head is really coming towards us, you know, typical. Let me just see how much wider his face gets. Not that much wider, right? So I'm going to put that out there like that. That out there. There you see I mentioned my drawing imbalance earlier. It's clearly evident here, right? Because as his face is getting a little bit wider, his ears should be coming outer, you see? But that's what I was talking about earlier. You want to better yourselves. You want to understand the master shape, right? Behind all of this. Now I remember his shoulders were not doing what I said they should be doing. Yes, so here they should be coming down. I don't know what happened there. Why I lost. Pretty sure I said that they would be doing everything they're doing, but never mind. I see why, because I've been balancing them on his ears, right? Which is what they should be in the silhouette, right? So now we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to open this guy's eyes. This is anime squash and stretch here, okay? This is going to be interesting. So one eye shape in the middle. We're going to be looking at anime squash and stretch in facial features. So this is the law that we're looking at here, okay? Squash, stretch, squash, stretch. So the eyebrow comes up the triangle. You see how I'm managing this shape here is just one triangle, right? So even if you have your own style of your own characters, your own anime designs, or whatever you want to call them, right? Whether it's anime, whether it's Disney, whether it's whatever, ultimately it's all shapes, right? It's all shapes. And that's again how you manage this stuff. Right, so now in here we're going to look at the muscular definition of his nasal, just above his nasal bone, right? So again, you can copy these lines here, but if you understand anatomy, which I do inside out, you're going to find it a heck of a lot easier to be able to do all this stuff pretty quickly. You see how I'm able to capture the eyebrows by simply resting them on that triangle and flipping forwards and backwards. Right. Now let's look at this anime eye, how it stretches. So we really bulge it. We want to look at the first eye there, for example. So look, you see even there's arc, there's head arc, head dip, open up. It's following the law, right? The head dip. Now he's got a little bit of eyelash there, but I'm not going to fart around too much with that. I think I'm just going to be nice and rough The rougher I am, the better it looks. Okay, it's just there's just too much to get through on this series. Now around his eye, we've got some under eyelids, and I don't know. There's a lot of extra detail around this character's eye, right? And what I do like about, I'll tell you one thing. What I like about anime more so than what, I wouldn't say early Renaissance Disney, but I would say when DreamWorks came out, you could say they upped the bar a little bit when they, with movies like Prince of Egypt and all that, and they forced Disney to care more about solid drawing. But you know what? One of the best things about hand-drawn animation is that it doesn't have to be 100% solid. And if you look at a lot of earlier Disney films from the old golden age, even through the beginning of the Renaissance, from Little Mermaid to Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast, they're not as solid as the later films. Because what happened is DreamWorks was poaching animators from Disney, and they really wanted to give this very, very kind of slick, polished look. So they really had cleanup artists left, right, and center going anal on model and laser line, smoothness of line, consistency of line, and all these things. So when you look at early Disney films, particularly of the best animator in the world, Milt Kahl, with characters like Hector and Sword in the Stone and Madame Medusa and the Rescuers, you can really see the manipulation of like additional creases on the characters' faces. Even Don Bluth does it, American Tail, all these additional creases on the characters' faces. Then Disney started taking them out, saying, oh, that's off model. And the characters for me became less expressive, and they had a little bit more generic in their expressions, which now we see where it's gone with all the Pixar thing. What I'm seeing here with this Naruto thing is this guy is having a ball with the facial creases on the character's face. He doesn't care about the model so much. So that's a huge, for me, that's a huge plus to what I'm seeing here. They're not fussing so much about him having too many excessive lines on his face or these kind of things. In fact, in somewhat, it kind of adds, I guess it adds to the kind of emotion that this guy is trying to convey with the as I'm guessing, because I haven't really watched this show, these two have some kind of history, and they, from what I've seen, that they were kids together, and maybe this kind of expression is like, I will show you no mercy. I'm going to come at you with everything I've got, So this is, I'm feeling the emotion of the animator in this drawing. This is a really nice drawing as far as I'm concerned. Really, really like this drawing. So here we see the nose kind of coming up a bit. Right, so the head goes down and dips forward like that. So this is immediately 9, right? 1, 3, 5, 7. Or has he put that on ones? Let's just have a look. Okay, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, yeah, that's all on 2s, right? Then the head kind of settles and slows back in to the next frame. So I'm going to go ahead and do that one. Let me just go 1. Now I need to check the eye line. So this is just going to be a slow in, right? So again, is he going linear? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so he holds, yeah. So a 4 frame slow in. No, yeah, 9. Hang on again. 1, 2. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 frames slowing, right? 8 frames slowing. And the eye line comes back up. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute, but as I do these breakdowns, I have to register what's happening. I could just pretend, right, and just make it all work for you and then and lie, but I don't want to. I'm here to learn myself, right? I'm here to learn myself. So his eyes get smaller in size, right? As he settle, and his head settles back a little bit, right? Now this is skillful, but there is a slight error here. But because he's only slowing in for 8 frames, you don't really see it. He does have a slight, there is a slight bit of eye traveling to either side. Very slight though, very slight. And he, in my opinion, he has got away with it, right? And it's intact. As I said, you don't want your drawings to look like those god-awful sliding digital puppets, 2D digital puppets that people who can't draw, basically, who want to have a go. You know, back in the day, now this comment might annoy a few people, but that's just the way I am. So if you're annoyed, just type "Okay, boomer," right? And then jack it out of yourself, right? So the thing is, back in the day, animation meant people who can draw well, right? But we live in an era where you get a medal for taking part now, right? You get a medal for just, you know, just showing up. Oh, and you got a medal for taking part. Everyone's a winner, babe. So now, what I think about the digital puppetry is these people have ruined hand-drawn animation, right? They don't know how to draw. So what you need to do is don't be intimidated by what they think, what they are incapable of doing anyway. It's like you saying, well, I want my drawings to be solid, but then you're making your drawings so dead and stiff, and that you're almost shifting and tracing, or you're using, you know, hybrid traditional techniques and mixing them with those awful puppets so the head kind of keeps its size, and you're kind of losing, you're kind of producing dead looking stuff, you know. So here we're looking at anime, and the guys got warping and size changing, but it's subtle, and if anything, it looks good. It looks good to me. I don't see anything here where I'm thinking, oh, that's a terrible mistake. Clearly, when I slow it down, I see, oh, well, there's a little bit of inconsistency. But you know what? Slow down Glen Keane, you'll see the same thing, right? So now this ear, even though it's right, I feel I may have made it just a little bit too small, as I was off on my balances. They do come out a little bit as he slows in the position. And I guess his reasoning, this guy's reasoning for doing that, is he's wanting his character's head to settle, and it leads into the next shot very, very nicely, because the next shot is it's a very good edit, actually, and we'll see it when I draw it, right? I'm almost there, right? I'm almost there. As I said, I'm going to leave these drawings to this scraggly standard. I'm not going to kill myself trying to get perfect, accurate drawings. I'm just going to make particularly on this hairstyle, right? Because I do think this hairstyle is taking the piss a bit, right? If I was an animator in a sweatshop like the guys in Japan and give me that hairstyle, I'd be like, fuck you, bastard. Anyway, right, so this is like this, that, and this comes here like that. Okay, right. So here we're gonna look at the way the eyes settle from the stretch into the settle position, where they're kind of more their neutral size. So you can see he's got now, like, his eyelash has gone to the outside, and you can see the underside of his eyelash in there, and this is going to be in here. I don't think I did I get that on the previous frame, or did I ignore that? That's important, I keep that in there. Yeah, I kind of almost forgot that. So let's just do this very quickly. 1, 2. It's important to keep these details in, even if I'm being rough, because this is really this could be, I don't know the character, but this could be one of the sources of his power or something. So it's not something I want to overlook. Okay, how many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4. I've kind of just made that up because I don't really want to. I saw the 2 around the eye and just made the rest up because I don't want to spend too much time on that. Right, there we go. That's good enough. And then this gets bigger. So notice when they open his eyes wide, right? His iris is small, and when they settle his eye in, his iris is big. So we can see and understand that. So there is some subtle facial stuff going on with this. Again, so people want to know why I selected this particular fight. As I said, I felt the fighting animation for me lacked rhythm and timing. It was kind of like a boy consistently throwing up. It's like, please allow me to see some of that stuff. I mean, for me, the greatest fight choreographer that ever lived was Bruce Lee. And he always used to talk about broken rhythm. So you'd have a lot of fast movements, and then there'd be a pause, and that pause could be like him just tensing his fist after knocking his opponent down, but it just created a little bit of a pause so you could feel the power. Then this guy, really talented guy called Jackie Chan came along, who just started just throwing arms and legs everywhere, and it's amazing and fantastic, and in some regards a lot more flashier than what Bruce Lee did. But it just was like, oh, hold on there, what did I just see? Yes, that looked amazing, but like my eyes are getting tired now, and it doesn't feel like it's got much power to that kick, even though you spun around like 10 times and kicked the other guy in the head, and he spun around really quickly as he fallen from it. It's just happening too quick, and that's my personal criticism to this stuff. So you can see his head is kind of settling back there on itself. And you can see, just to point out where I said here, I made an imbalance on his face, too much on this side. I can tell without flipping. I know I've really trained myself to just master this stuff, so I don't need to flip, I know. And so when I look at the animation, I can see that the imbalance is spoiling it just slightly when I do that. The original does not have that imbalance, but I'm being quick, okay? There's a lot to get through. So am I making excuses for my negligence? Yes. Right. So here we have 9. Okay, and again, this looks linear. One more time. I'm going to look at this. I have no idea, Charlene. There are plenty of Naruto fans in the audience. Dylan, tell her if this guy is a cyborg, right? So let's have a look at the timing here. Right? It's all linear again. So 1, 2, the spacing, sorry. 1, 2. 1, 2. No, actually, no, not so linear. Okay. It's strange. It's strange why they've done it like this. It feels like they've done it like this. 9, 11, 13, 15, 17. Why wouldn't they? For me, it would be so much stronger. But then again, I'm learning here how they do things. If you would have it on a half and go 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, right? So because then this forward movement would have more kick to it. But I guess they, it works. What they have is a kick to it. It's fine. So they have gone on thirds, maybe because they feel they're doing it with a limited frame rate. So it just feels more in between with that linear spacing. That's my personal analysis on that. Right here, this drawing imbalance on this side is really getting to me. I'm just gonna have to. I'm gonna have to live with it, right? Let's just do that to kind of soften it out a bit, right? See but this is I'm gonna see if that's actually in the original. Actually, yeah, yeah, volume issue happening with his facial sides is in the original, but that doesn't excuse that. Right, okay, anyway. So here his head moves back on itself, right? And then what we're going to do, in fact, I just can't take it. Excuse me. I'm just going to do this, right? Right, there we go. Now I'm going to take the whole thing, right? And I'm going to plonk it in the middle. It's faster to do it like that. Right. Yeah, that's better. Right. I just couldn't. When I see an arc that isn't arcing right, for me, somebody can have the best drawings in the world, but if I see anything in the arc that I'm like, nah. Right. Okay. Let us now look at the next shot. So we are 55 minutes in. So we've kind of cleared this first shot, as far as I'm concerned. So let's now look at the next shot. So the next shot, I'm gonna split the scene because I need to have an onion on this to do the next shot because it's quite clever. The next shot we cut, and the eye line is just a little lower, right? But we cut to this guy. Really looks like from what I've seen of the drawings of Naruto, but I don't know if he is Obito or whatever. He seems to look like exactly the same guy, but he's got a mask. So now I'm just going to see, because this is very important, right? Okay, so his ear is more up here, and his ear has traveled back a bit. I'm seeing the relationship of the framing, okay? So I'm studying framing here. It's almost like we're continuing to move the guy's head back, right? Because we're cutting to this next scene with where we're up against the other guy's got the same kind of angle, kind of extreme close up. Now I want to look where the colors are, right? Right, so his colors are up here like this. So his silhouette is like this, right? He's got something here like this, something like this, and one on the side here like that. So you all know how I like to keep my silhouettes, right? So now let's see what this guy's doing. So the next frame here will be head down. Okay, that's a big move. Okay, so this looks to be on halves, this one. His timing is different to the other guy. Interesting. Maybe that's why they did it. They want him to be on different timing to the other guy. Okay. 1, 3, 5, 7. Yeah, another 6 frame. So yeah, but different spacing. So his movement is a lot more down this time. So this one is gonna come lower. So everything does move lower with this guy in regard to the head, right? So again, you see, I want to make sure my ears are in line with each other, right? Even whether I stick to this drawing or not, this, as I said, when you make these breakdown studies, okay, so his colors come down with his head. We're not here to just make a pretty drawing and watch it move and then fool our non-animator friends about how we've made such an accurate study of something who don't know any better, right? You're studying these things to learn, all right? And improve yourself and improve your drawings, right? So this is why you're doing it. So don't try to fool anyone. Don't waste your energy on small details, right? Learn about the silhouette. So now we're coming again. He comes up, forward. He gets bigger and wider on each side. Okay. So this guy gets wider up here like this. on this side here. I'm going to open this up here like that. Right. Now I don't want to keep these streams too long. Maybe we can go another hour on this. It is an edutainment stream, but I'm slightly changing the way I do edutainment streams. Right, so this opens out like this. Then we settle back. Oh wow, interesting. We got a breakdown. His settle back is different, right? So we settle back. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. This one's a lot more interesting. Right, so I'm just gonna have to think about this. I'm gonna have to do breakdowns on this one. Okay, let's just do it. This is a breakdown, but I'm gonna put it in as a key because as I'm kind of studying this on the fly, on a live stream, talking about what I find, it's gonna be hard for me to go back and do it like the way that they would have animated it with a breakdown. So I'm gonna just, so he lowers his head down a lot here. He straightens his head up actually. So he straightens his head up. Right. And I want to see if you can kind of see that head movement. Can you see that like head dip forward and straightening up? You see we're talking with the silhouette here. I don't know if you can see that. I can see it. It looks good. Right. And then we have, he really comes back up as an anticipation. Ooh, law of anticipation here. This guy's got his own personality in his movements, a little bit different. Good. That's what we want, particularly when we're doing action. You just don't, I know a lot of young people into their fight scenes just want to do the flashy fighting moves or whatever. It's but it's the action, the build up, the build up to get you in the mood. So this guy is going to anticipate back now. And again, I already know that my framing is a little bit off because I've got space here and no space here. But I'm just going to have to be fast. I can't, as I said, and I keep making excuses for my casual, just letting things fly. Right, so you can see the anticipation back with his head. And then he moves directly towards us, which is good, right? So then he really comes in. So his ears and his collars, his ears and his collars. And this is again where I'll probably get a bit of an imbalance. And to be honest, I don't know if I want to be bothered to fix it because I want to kind of just go with my silhouette, right? So let's see. I don't know if you can make out what's happening in this silhouette here. It's very interesting. You can see basically the character. We obviously see what's going on here. He's there. He overshoots. He settles back. Here you can see he comes forward. Then he goes back and goes forward again. I don't know if you could see this. If you can't see it, don't worry. I'm going to draw it in. But to those of you who are training library members, I want you to really look and see if you can see it happening in the silhouette. Everything that's going to happen, you can see it happening in the silhouette because that's the key to you making strong poses. Even you say, well, how can you have a strong pose with just this as the silhouette, right? Well, this is it. The movements, the head dips, the move forwards, the whatever, the strong poses. Good stuff. Right. Let's go in and draw this guy. To my mind, he'll be a little bit easier than the other guy because he hasn't got that paper crown hairstyle, right? So, paper crown hairstyle, right? So here, this He's got a center line coming in the middle here, right? His eye, I like this. I do like the main Naruto drawing. I've not really watched the show, but whenever I've seen the images of him, I've always thought that's a really appealing character design, right? He's got a little bit more than one eye width apart. Again, his triangle, he's not as intense as the other guy. His eyebrows are coming, they're creating a triangle to the center, but not quite so intense. Then here's the middle section here. So this is where we get the eyebrow, we break it into sections, right? Some people like me, sometimes I like to just do eyebrows like that, right? But nothing wrong with that. It's a little graphic and it's got its own like look to it. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more sophisticated, right? You want to think about breaking it up into this section, and this section, right? And that's what this guy has done here in his own way. So the other way reads a lot easier if you just want to knock out quick stuff, which is another reason why when I'm animating sometimes on my own stuff and I'm working fast, and I'm getting emotion in there, but I'm not really maximizing it as much as I could do because I'm not adding this extra layer to the eyebrows, right? I'm aware of why I'm doing it, but if you really want to go forward with getting more depth to your expressions beyond, I like to let my movements do the talking sometimes. But if you really want to, which is what these guys don't have so much movement, so they're doing that. They're adding that more realistic element to it. And I have to say that since I've been making more and more progress with my personal Groundhopper project, I've altered his design to incorporate that eyebrow shape because I want to talk a little bit more with his expressions. He's a very philosophical character. Right, so what I like about this eye is you've got this framing hair of the eye shape and then this coming down with the eyelid, and then the inside is completely white. Now he's got a similar thing to the other guy. I know that I don't know the story behind it, but there's something about the eyes, character's eyes. Now here in the middle, okay, the eye line is at the bottom, but here in the middle is where we put our closed eyelid, because he's got an upper eyelid and a lower eyelid, right? And we do tend to favor that side a little bit more like that. Okay, so let's round that off. So that's the character's eyes. A lot more, for me, a lot more appealing than this guy's eyes. But then again, obviously his expression is very nice. But I do like the graphic art style of this guy's eye. The headband comes straight down, right, across here and then goes up. So we're gonna have, this is all kind of flat, right, and then these arrows go up to this side, giving him some roundness to it, but then we round this a little bit to take the flatness away, right? What I have done here, and I'm gonna have to make this guy a little smaller, which is gonna throw a curveball, because I haven't, as I'm filling in my silhouette, I've made his eye line a little bit too high. In fact, why don't I do that now? Just gonna make it easier for me. So I've made his eye line a little bit too high, right? So it's gonna be more down here, right? And even then that's a little bit, but I'm going with his ear and his collar. So I'm just being a happy medium. I don't want to be too perfectionist about this. But why I did that, right? You see the benefit of drawing the silhouette, because my silhouettes were almost intact, right? So I don't really have to change all the others, right? Because this is my figuring out drawing, right? So he's got a mask hair like this, right? Which comes over here, right? Some could say that it's a little bit of an extension of the zygomatic mask. I will say that his drawing of this character is a little bit flat with this mask. Now he's got a scar, okay, which comes between his eyebrows, right, and down his, and I'm not going to care too much about the design of it because we'll be here forever, which comes along there like that. So what I'm doing here is familiarizing myself with all these shapes so we can speed up on the next one. Now in here, do this side and do this side, right? So to either, like if you want to divide the eyebrow into 3, right, on either third we have the width of his headband, which I still have not framed fully in there. So there's more space up here. In fact, I'm gonna have to bring this guy down a little bit, because the reason being, I don't want to skimp out on this, right? I'm going to show you how to maintain the volume and form in this, right? So on the middle hair like this, I'm going to draw a square, right? And in that square, I'm going to draw a little triangle like this, right? Now in that little triangle, I'm going to put 2 little marks above it. And then that triangle is going to come up here like this. And that's going to give me the X, which comes up here like this. Now in here, that's going to just come in the middle. That is going to be my formula basically for keeping consistency of that logo, right? So you can see how it's easy to keep consistency. Doesn't matter what angle I draw that thing at, I'm going to be able to keep it consistent. Because that's another thing, as what I call a real animator, you're going to be able to look instantly at things that are seemingly complex, and you're going to be able to just tidy these ears up as I brought the head down a bit. You're going to be able to work out a formula that you're going to go, okay, how am I going to animate this and keep it consistent without worrying about it being off, you know, moving around, changing size, deforming, and all that kind of stuff. Well, you just, again, the secret science of shape simplification. So now here, important, right? Now I don't need, I'm going to split this. So storyboard, split current scene. Okay. Yeah, the reason I split that scene is because it is a different scene, but I needed my light box on. So you see that edit point, right? The edit point is this guy's face and then the other guy's face, right? So it almost reminds me of the old Ninja Gaiden game on the NES, when they had the characters looking at each other like da-da-dun, 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 you know. So immediately, like, it's almost like he's become him, you know. Very clever, very nice edit. Okay, now, so let's have a look. So this is another 6-frame slow in, right? So everything comes down, right? So this is significantly down. This is significantly down, right? So let's dock this, right? So let me just put this on. Now I'm not putting this on to use it. I'm just putting it on for it to be a map of the spacing that I'm doing. I'm not focusing on it to help me keep size or anything, which is one of the biggest, the worst things you can do to try and keep size, is to work with your light box in the thought that by seeing the drawing underneath you're going to somehow be able to manage. You want to be focusing on the change in shapes. Now he's getting angry, so that triangle's getting deeper, right? That triangle's getting deeper in him. We now have this thing getting more dimension as he's lowering his head, right, like that. Also, as I did that drawing of this character, deceptively he was harder than the other one. You know, I thought he was going to be easier. He didn't have the paper crown haircut, you know, but he was actually a little bit trickier, right? So then here we've got this logo on the head, right? So let's do that. Let me turn the light box off and let's look at this, right? So I'm going to draw the square here, right? Let's illustrate exactly what I mentioned before, right? Little triangle here, right? A big triangle up here. So that's where my X shapes are, right? Let's make those shapes a little bit nicer, right? So that's where they are, like that, right? Then up here we're going to come down, out, and in. That's that shape sorted out. Admittedly, with this shape, I just made those shapes. I could change the angle to make it, but you see, now I'm actually trying to copy the brush strokes of the thing. That's why there's a slight difference. But you can see it's all managing itself in that shape, right? So you got another little triangle in there like that for those two things, and this one sits here. See, no light box, all there for you to see, right? So you see now actually the time has come to turn the light box on, and it's going to be a lot easier for me to make my choices, right? So this moves down here, the top of the ear. So remember I talked about that helix. We can see it a little bit more clearly on this guy. So the outer helix of that ear and a little bit of the antitegus, right? So this outer helix, the antitegus, then this comes down. You see, once I've got my shapes, and as I said, when we draw the full bodies fighting, I mean, strangely enough, even though it's a full body, it'll be easier and faster to draw than this, because this is where the where I am focusing a little bit, because I am wanting to talk a little bit about consistency and model. So maybe on this first lecture, as we're studying this fight scene, you know, this is going to be a long series, right? We're going to be doing this fight scene. We're going to be looking at it shot by shot and analyzing everything within the laws of animation, the storyboarding, the framing, asking questions as to why. But I guess with this first few shots, we've got extreme close-ups of the character, and well, I am talking about framing and I am talking about editing, but I'm also using it as an opportunity to talk about animation, model, consistency, shape simplification, all those things that are going to help you understand this, right? So then here we've got the eye coming down here like that. So again, a little bit of squash and stretch in the character's face, which is good stuff. And now we're going to go down. I've got to think about the mask shape. It's easy to start just copying the screen that I'm looking at. Think about that. There we go. So you see it's coming down, right? Immediately the change of the character is coming down like that. Okay, right. How are we doing for time? 1 hour 18 minutes. Not bad, right? So next up, we've got the advancement forward, right? So the character is advancing forward, right? So straight off the bat, the first thing that sticks up to me is his headband has come straight up like that. Let me just do this so I can just maintain my proportions a little bit. Not for what you think, okay? Don't think I'm using the light box for that. It's more to do with the, you know, me understanding the arc, if anything, wanting to know is the arc in the right place, and he's got more than one eye width apart, right? So again, I'm not using the light box for that. I'm using my knowledge that there's more than one eye width apart. But it's important to just plot, if anything. That's all the light box is for, right? Done. That's all I need it for, right? So here we're gonna straighten that up, and if you're making breakdown studies, you better damn well not be relying on this light box, because I'm in a position of like luxury. Like, I can animate anything I want, whenever I want, however I want. I can just have the balls to come on a live stream, take something that's got 14 million views and talk about how it's done and just copy it verbatim almost, right? But like, if you don't know any of this, you don't know, and you're just spending your time and energy just copying the drawings, right? Because many people, particularly who are into anime, who really don't understand, and they think you got to get your drawing down first before you do even begin animation. Morons, right? The people in those forums who've never animated in the industry, don't know anything, just talk, and their talk stinks as bad as shit, right? So the thing is like, you need to understand, it's all 100% about shape simplification, shape manipulation. These lines you're making up form groups of shapes, right? That's what, if you're going to make any kind of study of anything, whether it's an illustration or an animation, you're going to have to understand that, okay, well, I've just made a line here. I need to make another line. Okay, now this line is a triangle. I know it represents the helix of the ear. I understand these things. But at the same time, I want to know how these lines are working as a group to simplify the ear with, okay, now we've got a triangle here that simplifies that shape of the ear from a front view. So from a side view, right, you got something like this, right, which is the ear. But then this, right, this from a front view, you got a triangle in here now, right, which covers all of this area here, right? So you need to ask those questions rather than, does it look like the character? Am I getting it right? No, right? As I said, you got to change the mentality from being a little bit juvenile and kiddie, if you're serious about this stuff, into asking serious questions, right? Because much as though the world and the industry are trying to take away the art from animation and replace animation with puppetry, animation for me barely exists anymore, right? It's just a world of puppetry. They have belittled, tried to, undermine people who draw, real artists, draftsmen. There was a time when animation basically simply meant, oh, you draw it, right? Well, now they've basically tried to take that away. And it's a serious art form for the elite few, as far as I'm concerned, in this day and age. So I'm here to help you be the elite few, be worthy of the person you dream yourself to be. You love this stuff, you want to draw, okay? Fine, I'll help you do it. I don't care what style it is. You like anime? I'm down for that. I'll help you draw anime. I'll help you get good at it. I'll help you better everyone else at it, right? But the thing is you have to understand what you're looking for. You have to understand what it is these old things are. And you need to get out of the fanboy mentality and put on the elite draftsman mentality head, right? Which is like, okay, what do these shapes represent, right? This here, right? I'll tell you right here and now what this line represents. You got a frontal bone here. Why do we see this constant diamond inside? Like particularly this guy here, right? Why? Okay? Why? These are really strong drawings because of that, right? Really strong face. They're going this tight into the character's face, and they're doing that stuff. Why? Well, you got a frontal bone, right? Now, you're in real animator training. Kevin Silver, pay attention here, right? This is why I keep telling you to do this stuff. You got a frontal bone that makes up the front parts. Here you got a zygomatic bone, which is the cheek, right? Right, which comes in here. The zygomatic bone on the other half, right? Now, here, right, you got a nasal bone, right? And then in here you got the maxilla bone, right? Never mind, I can go further and talk about how you could get this all from real animator training: 4 incisors, 2 canines, 2 premolars, and 3 and sometimes 2 molars, right? Whatever, right? Now here's the nasal cavity. Now here's the cartilage comes in here on this side here like this, right? Now what do we see here? Right? In fact, also up here with the nasal bone, what do we see here? Right? It's imperative that when you do these things, you ask the right questions. And that's why this is, to some degrees, this stuff is so good, right? Because these people know what they're doing, right? They haven't gone on Twitter or DeviantArt and looked at a cheat sheet on how to draw eyes the anime way. Fucking bullshit nonsense, right? They have gone and they've studied what mattered, right? They have gone and studied the stuff and that's why you're looking at their work. That's why people are like wetting their pants at how good it is, because these people know what they're doing to some degree like that, right? They put in the due diligence to develop their skills at that thing, right? So why not you? You say you want it. You say you want to be. You can do it. I believe you. But the question is, have you got the stomach for it? Are you going to put in the due diligence and do the work that's necessary to get you to where you can so easily be, all right, at this level? All right, so this stuff is all over the internet. You can look at it the way I'm looking at it right now. You can look at it, study it, analyze it, ask questions, do your anatomy. You don't enjoy doing anatomy? Fine. Well, do anatomy like it's doing bench press or, press ups or something. Then go away and look for that anatomy in your anime, right? Go away and look for that anatomy in your anime. That's my advice to you. Now, he's got this scar that is coming down his eye, and I'm just going to let me go back. I missed it on this one. Right, so I'm going to come down here. I'm going to put that along like that. So there we go, right? So he's come forward like that. Now I just need to check for timing. I may only be able to do the first 2 shots today. Yeah, this shot is going to take a lot longer than I thought because it's not as straightforward as this one, right? He's got anticipation going on in here now, right? So now the guy's going to... So he comes forward and he anticipates back just like the other guy, and he levels his head up. Again, here we've got some eye volume problems, but they're so subtle that they really don't matter. So he straightens up, and he actually gets angrier while he does it, right? So here his eyes kind of straighten up in here. This is where we kind of mess up with the volume a little bit, but it's okay. It's not so noticeable. As I said, it's in a way it's like the old Disney volume changing. I'm totally cool with it. It's not enough to hurt the animation. Okay, just up just a little bit, just watching how he straightens that up. This comes up just a little bit as he straightens up. like that. See, this is subtle stuff. It's harder in a sense for me to copy it than it is for me to just animate it from scratch, because I'm trying to look at his shapes and the intuitive marks he's made when he's doing it, right? But I want to be faithful to what the guy has done here, right? So this is going to rise up. Okay, I made an error. Not an error here. I forgot to do that thing. I'm not even going to look. I'm just going to use my formula, right? So triangle here, right? Triangle here, the triangle up here. That's going to be that. That's going to be that, right? That's going to be that. There's going to be another little triangle in there. So now I've kind of like, without looking, right, I've got a representation of this thing on his head, right? So this is coming forward. Now just it settles back a bit, right? There, like that. Okay, so his head straightens up. And he gets a little bit angry here, right? His eyebrows get more furried here. Need to be careful. We don't want his eyebrows to grow, right? So the triangle, we want them to come down on themselves. So his eyelid is actually all the way up here, right? You can see it's the same size of the eye. Again, anatomy here, just his eyelid gets smaller. I have to say this face is a nicer face than the other one, but the deformation is not as successful. His eye shape's floating around a bit in an unnatural way on his face. But as I said, on the whole, it doesn't really hurt it. This gets bigger, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come in there. We have the angry eye coming in there like that. Right. It's a lot of fun actually, and I hope now you can see as I'm drawing the furried hair, you can see that the frontal bone before we get into that nasal area, right, which is gonna be down here like this. You can see all those furried anatomical features on the character's face, right? You got muscles on the face as well, but a lot of the muscles kind of fit around the skull in certain places. It's not as bare as the hands, but there's some of the most complex muscles in the body, the facial muscles, but there's still a lot of the skull is still very evident in the character's facial features, right? So here I'm just going to be rough with the hairstyle, like that. Move this up and along. The scar on the character's face. Again, I haven't got that. My spacing there is a little bit shorter than what it actually is, but as I've mentioned many times, I think as long as we understand, we get a feel for what we're doing, I'm totally cool with not being 100% accurate. Right, so this is actually a shine on his mask, on his headpiece. I did think it was his hair at first, I must be honest. Right, so let's just, because I made that last shape up, I'm gonna have to just come in here and make this one up as well. Right, there, that'll sort that. Right, bum 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 bum. You see it's not enough to hurt it, the eye features. What I will do, because I personally feel, again, I've gone with my silhouette, that I can just bring his eyes up a little bit. Those little imbalances like that bother me. Not because of the drawing thing. If it was a drawing thing, I could live with it. But you can see it's an arcing thing. The arcing thing is why we get the consistency, right? I only really change it not because I want to fix my drawing. I'm rushing this, right? I'm changing it because I want my arcs, for the most part, to work. They're still a little bit sloppy, so I'm rushing through it. But it's enough, right? So now I'll work the timing out afterwards. Now we come further up. Okay. So 2 more drawings to do, and then we're going to call it a day on this one. So the first 2 opening scene or opening shots we will have done. We will have looked at some actually very different to what I know I picked this fight scene, so I shouldn't be that surprised, but perhaps I thought I was going to be a little bit fast the first 2 shots, and into the next shot where we see them running. Actually we looked at something that I didn't expect to really be looking at, which is anime slow facial features and movements, because normally when I think of anime, I mostly think of it as big, quick moving stuff, high on action, low on subtlety, low on facial expression, right? And as I said, this is primitive stuff in terms of the timing and the actual actions that they're doing and the arcs and stuff. But what had me pleasantly surprised and thinking, well, this is actually not bad, is the facial expressions. The facial expressions were actually quite strong in their both characters' eyes are hidden and they're talking with their eyes. I'm just gonna see how much of a head rise there is here. Okay, a fair amount, right? So his eye line is gonna be probably up here somewhat. This triangle is going to be here. So again, the way to solve this is to think of a diamond in between here, which is where we can get to the nose and come up to either side of that face, right? Yep, now we can see how that anticipation back might work. Right, so let's look at this nice eye shape. This is a very nice expression. Very nice, right? So look at the curling eyelid here and the frame around like that where they then encase the eye, right? And then underneath we have this shape here. And the eye is half on it like that, right? No upper lid. There's a little bit of the upper lid there, right? Which again keeps it to its eye size. But lovely, lots of little lines under here. Lovely eye, lovely expression. Not so much a fan of the choice of shape for his closed eyelid. But I guess, and this happens in the actual animation. It is not really particularly consistent in its angle when they're moving it. It's a little bit more consistent than what I've got because I'm speeding through it, but it's not necessarily the most consistent thing, right? So we have that. So again, we're keeping our eye width apart. It's more than one eye width. Now this eyebrow is actually resting on the eyelid. So it's coming down. And I mentioned earlier about the the breaking of the eyebrow into 3 parts. Well, they've kind of done it, and then they kind of don't do it. They kind of then just go with a simple line. But what they have is these lovely brow definitions of the muscles, facial muscles above the near the frontalis, which define his pressing together of the eyebrows. Right, so then we have this hair coming here like that, and around there. There we go. Lovely stuff. Now he's got his scar, which comes a little bit over his eye, and I'm kind of like rushing this a little bit because I don't really have the time to get everything in place. Now this, again, I'll think of it as the 1/3 of either side of the eyebrows, right? This is going to be hair, so again, this square, triangle, triangle, cross, this shape is going to come up here like this, right? And down. I'm really not looking, okay, at that because it's not 100% accurate, but I want to kind of illustrate the formula, right? So as I do these things, I want you to see me building formulas, cells of recognition in my mind that are going to, throughout the study of this scene, that are going to serve me. And this is how to familiarize yourself with model when you are embarking on any animated project, right? So there we come forward and back, and now he's going to come forward again, leaving me just enough time to talk about the timing of this shot. Right, so the next frame of the head is another 2 frames. It's just completely forward. All right, so let's just be big and bold, right? Big and bold. We don't even need to see, well, I will just for the center line, right? It's important we keep the arc. The center line represents the arc of motion, right? So I don't want to lose that. Everything else is this easy, right? We're going to come around here like this. Okay. So now this line is going to come a little bit beneath, right? Here like this. Huge eye shape, the triangle of his eyebrows, the diamond, right, in the middle, right. He's slightly more than 1 eye width, probably not when his eyes are open, to be honest with you, but I think that they are. Let's talk about this. His eye shape is just this, right? I'll talk about that in a minute, right? You're gonna have fun with that, right? So the mask comes under there like that, and there like that. Alrighty. Right, that is pretty much it. I'm going to now go about drawing the character on top. So just slightly alter his ear shapes. Right, let's talk about this eye shape. We're gonna come in here, right? And we're gonna divide this kite shape, right, with a nice thick kind of triangle like this, right, which is gonna border the eye. We're gonna come in like that, and then we're gonna have his eye resting in there, right? This all kind of lines up nicely, just like that. Then we're gonna really like this expression, really like completely bury the eye up there like that. Nice stuff. right? Have this here like this. It's just a shame that this stuff isn't timed better. As I'm looking at these drawings, I'm really liking them, and I'm really thinking, if only the audience enjoyed it for sure. They loved it, but just when I was watching it, when I was watching it move, I couldn't necessarily appreciate some of these drawings because I felt that the fight just had very poor rhythm, was just moving just too fast, too quick, no real power to the blows. Turn the sound away. But anyway, I'm not here to down it. I'm actually upping it by saying, well, the guys who were doing it probably had a lot of fun, because you can, when you look at these drawings, you can really see they're having a blast. They're really, really trying to. He's really upping the emotion, I guess. Emotional content, which is what this is all about. The fight has to mean something for it to be good, I find a lot of these fight scenes I liken to pornography. It's just like young kids wanting to get to the bits that turn them on. It's not really they're not really particularly skillful, in my opinion, and the movements are ridiculous with the smear frames and things like that. But this one has got real emotional intent behind the moves. I mean, as I said, I don't know it. I don't know the story, but I've seen the fight scene, and I can see this cross-cutting between two kids fighting that I'm assuming are them. And this opening, you see the other guy looking like a maniac, right? This guy looks a little bit more in control, right? And basically what what this one is doing that's similar to the other one is like, it basically, I'll talk about it in a minute from a staging filmmaking point of view, what I'm getting from it. The other guy's basically like, I don't care who you are, I'm gonna destroy you, I'm gonna break you down, I'm gonna finish you. That's the kind of vibe I got from the way that shot was animated, right? The vibe I'm getting from this guy is like, like, give me your best, you're nothing, I don't care, like, I know you, I know everything about you, and let's have it then. So that's it. That's basically, we're going to talk about the timing in a minute. That's basically, I'll tell you why I came to those conclusions from just looking at these key frames. Could be way off because I haven't seen the project, but I like to do that anyway, and sometimes it's better if you haven't seen it, because at least it's good enough for you to even contemplate interpretations. Like, many times I look at things this so lame, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G, nuts and bolts stuff, that there's no real interpretation to make from what I'm looking at. It's just movement, right? And a drawing. I don't care how well drawn it is to a layman. I'm looking for emotion. I'm looking for meaning. So let's do that. Before I talk about the timing, let me just talk about why I came to that conclusion. So before, you got this guy here. He's like looking, it's looking like he's so, like my friends just emailed me, who's the Naruto nut or whatever, and he's just said I'm actually spot on. So thank you, man. He's still watching. He's still awake. So here, you got him here like this. He's like insanity. Like, it's like, so it's you. I'm gonna kill you, right? He's just insane, right? I'm gonna come at you, right? This guy is like, I know you, right? I know who you are. Let's have it, right? Let's have it, right? And then he goes back on himself. It's like he calms himself down again. Then he's ready to fight, right? So this guy's like, he's like, I'm gonna get you, right? I'm gonna destroy you. I don't care who you are. So he's The anticipation, there's no anticipation here. That's his anticipation, that look, right? Then he comes forward and settles back like, I'm going to destroy you, right? This guy is like, we have an anticipation of thought here, right? So it's like, I know you, right? Then he's coming forwards. It's like, bring it, right? So the main action, let's bring it. Then it settles back, just like he settles back, right? It settles back here like this. But then there's a back here. Then he comes back again, right? And we're going to look at that timing-wise. He rests again. So there's a new anticipation, right? He's here, new anticipation of like, he's calm. He's in control. Let's do this, right? That's what I get from that timing there like that. So anyway, let's just have a quick look at the timing. If I remember correctly, it was a 6 frame slow in at the start. Let's see the spacing. 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, yeah, so that's as I thought. This one's a little bit more to my kind of timing. 1, 3, 5, and oopsie, there's only 1/2 in there. I'm too used to big slow-ins, right? Okay, right, so 1, 3, 5, 7, right, okay, right, yeah. How much nicer that would be with more of a slow-in. They could have just held that frame, but maybe they've got so much to get through that they needed to use every second they had. Right, so 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay. So 7 straight through to 9. This is 9. Right. 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. Okay. So a little bit more. And is that linear? A little. Okay. He's doing it on the thirds way again, I'm thinking. So 11 to 19. Right. 9 to 19. 10 frames slow in. Where's the man? Edge deep. Come on, edge deep. Come on. Where are you? Gotta talk to him. 10 frames slow in. Okay, so here he's doing thirds. So it's like 11, right? 13. Actually, it's a weird thing. It almost feels like, yeah, let's do it this way. 13, 15, 17, 15, 17, 19. So it's strange. It's a third chart and they slow down like that. I personally don't want to do things like that, but I'm looking, that's what I can see. I could be all wrong here, but he's gone for this linear movement, right? Maybe because then he wants to go from 19 oopsie here, 19, 21, 23, 2/3. Okay, 21, 23. Okay, so it's literally, it's not 2/3, it's a half. 21, 23, right? So this is 23, right? So we got 23, 25, 27, again halves, 25, 27, right? So just over a second that shot. This shot was 17, so this shot was just under a second, not even 6 times 3 is 18, not even 3/4 of a second. This one is over a second by 3 frames. So that's 17 plus 3 is 20, 24. So we're talking 44 frames around abouts for these opening shots. When I scrub them like that, there's no real timing, right? Because I haven't really put in-betweens in them, you know. But this is essentially what we see. You see how that head almost transforms into the other person's head, and it's almost like a pulsing heartbeat with the timing going. Obviously, they'll put their own, like they slow into this phase and they get that, and it's a little bit different to the way I'm doing that. But when you look at it in this, one of the reasons why I'm mentioning this is you gotta take your animator's head off and you gotta put your filmmaker's head on, and you gotta think about pacing You got to think about the shots relating to each other and the movements. So they've almost got similar movements, but just subtle differences in what they're doing. It's like a big bulging eye less so, but a little bit more body movement going on in there. Right, so that is the first thing, the first episode of this animation breakdown series that we're doing. Animation fight scene study, Kakashi versus Obito, Naruto, Shippuden. And this is going to be going in the Real Animator Training Library. When it is complete, we are going to be building, if we go into the training library here at ambanimation.com, you will see that you're taken to this page telling you about my library of basically all of my knowledge I'm giving to you for the price of a mid-range laptop. Less so actually, because you can pick and choose, right? For example, this archive we're building, you're just going to buy it separately. You don't have to, let's talk about that. So you click join now. You got two places here. You got training archives and you've got edutainment archives. The training archives is the real power, the real place where this stuff you're really going to learn. I'm not going to talk much about them here, but you have these step-by-step courses where you follow along learning the fundamentals of animation at a basic level, an intermediate level, an advanced level, and random pick up and play lectures here, and the skeletal anatomy archive. So you basically, it's nothing flash. You're not watching me draw this kind of stuff. You're following along with me step by step, and that's where you'll acquire the skills, the real skills. Okay, this place has got people who have been to Full Sail, what a Full Sail, CalArts, Animation Mentor, Sheridan, all the bigwigs, Bluth University. People who have come off that have come on here looking to expand and improve on their knowledge. People who have learned from Richard Williams' sons. So this training archives, I must stress, however awesome this all looks, that's where those of you who really want to learn how to do it are going to learn how to do it, right? But I am catering for the hobbyists as well. And I'm catering for people who just want to enjoy this kind of content. So we've got edutainment archives here. So edutainment, you can buy whichever one. So here we've got a previous animation breakdowns set here. Now this was varied things. So here you've got Disney squirrels, okay? You got like me showing you this awesome scene, one of the best animated movies ever in my opinion, Sword in the Stone, through 3, 6, 9 hours of content breaking down that. And then very different. Here you've got Thundercats intro, a little bit of the intro of Thundercats. You see me breaking that down. You got Yosemite Sam, you got like Disney, Warner's, anime. You got all different kinds of stuff. You got Ninja Scroll sword fight from, so you got all different kinds of things. So that's live breakdown set 1, right? You got like so many here that you can enjoy. That's not actually that high a price. If I remember, it's something like 50 English pounds. I could be wrong. It could be 100. So also we've got how to animate your own film, which is 56 episodes of me animating this Santa series here. It's on at a special Christmas price. The price will go up in the new year. So you can get this. Some of you watched, I'm not going to play the whole thing. You can see it on my channel. But some of you watched me animate this entire film, which is around about 2 minutes over 56 live streams. There are some of the highlights in this for you to watch if you want, right? So that's edutainment as well, because let's face it, you guys aren't going to be able to recreate that. This archive, which I'm starting, is going to be purely based on anime fight scenes. This one in particular, because we're going to be looking at all of these things that you've seen me. This is the first episode, and we're going to be building that edutainment archive there as well. I see people suggesting other fight scenes maybe in the future, but we are not doing this as fanboy stuff. We are not doing this as we're trying to get to the bottom of how the fight scene is staged, everything about it. We're not just studying little scenes here and there. We're going to look at everything that makes this scene great, rather than just, and it takes time to do that because there's a lot of animation law going on here. So that is that. So consider transforming your life. I know a lot of you want to be animators, and some of you are serious, some of you not. Those of you who look at your work and want to cry inside, you don't have to, okay? I've built this place for you. You can go and transform your lives there right now. It's not as hard as you think it is. You just need to learn the right things the real way. And that's exactly what real animator training is designed for you to do. Right. I will see you all on the next one, but I will have a look at the chat first. So let's just come in and have a look. Let me just save that up a little bit. Don't want to lose that. Let's got the double mic on. Let's have a look at the chat, see what people are talking about. So yes, can't wait to see that with Groundhopper versus the Great One. Yeah, the Groundhopper fight is something I'm really looking forward to doing. I keep having to think about how he's going to fight the Great One, because the Great One is almost twice his size, and it's thinking of how he's going to hit him in the face and all those kind of things. It's a bit of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar versus Bruce Lee there, but a lot more violent, and because the Great One is a lot bigger and burlier. I never saw the show this far, but I always liked, in general, I like the mentor teacher characters the most, says Akal the Warrior. Well, you should give it a shot, Silver Sun, with that 3-shot things. Bum, bum, bum. Mock Swagger from Rock and Rule. Rock and Rule is really messy animation. Somebody asked me to look at that, and I read a few names of some Disney boys who worked on that, and I was like, I think even Brad Bird might have worked on that. Awful. Absolutely awful. Terrible work. I wanted to like it because I'm an 80s man. I love metal. I don't know if Objectivist Guitarist is still watching. Look what my wife got for my birthday. Right, the latest Maiden album, like ornament edition, right? So I love metal, and I love rock, but man, Rock and Roll sucked. It was just awful drawings and awful animation. It almost reminded me like of a heavy metal. I saw the clip AMB is referencing for this stream. I like how they overshoot head angles to emphasize focus and readiness. Yes. What I like about the anime is, and Sergio Leone just ripped off Akira Kurosawa anyway, so it's kind of like Americans copying Japanese and then Japanese copying Americans, Italian Americans, because that's opening reminds me of Sergio Leone stuff. A bit painful watching you draw the kanji. I would just write it. A little understanding anatomy will help even the crudest drawings. What's your take on animators using anything other than 24 frames per second? If you use anything more, you're just wasting time, and if you use anything less, you're basically killing opportunity, and you're just basically screwing up your animation. Work on 24 frames per second, but have it on 2s. or have it on 4s, or have it on 6, but at least, for heaven's sake, give yourself that window to put in more frames when you need them, right? So always 24 FPS. Any more is just waste of time. When Glenn Keane did Duet and they said he did it at I forgot, 60 FPS. I can't even remember. I thought, wow, Glenn Keane 60 FPS. Let's have a look. Oh well, it doesn't really look that much different to me. I don't really. It looks just as good, if not slightly better, on 24 as far as I'm concerned. Has that less of that underwater feel. Um, Yeah, friends on your course, friends on your course. They're not really animators, are they? I'm not being condescending, animator Alex, but give them a few years. Some of them might grow into animators, some of them might fall by the wayside. They're not really, they're just kids on courses at the moment. I'm not being mean, but if you really want to listen to people with experience who've actually worked in the industry in hand-drawn animation. You might, I mean, I can't speak for digital puppeteers who just, um, the digital puppeteers, but just listen to, if you don't want to take my word for it, go listen to Bancroft, Aaron Blaze, John Pomeroy, whoever else is teaching out there. Who's that guy, Tonico? Go listen. Whoever who's got some industry know-how under their belt, if they've got the balls to tell you without making their followers cry and worrying about, the customer is always right bullshit, they'll be straight up with you and tell you that 24 frames per second and work on 2s, or 4s if you must, but 24 frames per second. And any more, yeah, well, you can, but you're just wasting your time really adding more to it. No point arguing, Alex. Most people who I find that when I have a discussion with, when it comes to something like hand-drawn animation, which I've spent my life devoted to, 20 years in the industry, got to a very high level at, and I'm now doing this and transforming people's lives, coming on live streams, knocking out great work effortlessly. So I figure that it's like going up to a dog barking at you in the road and going woo, 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 back at them. Like they just simply won't understand. Don't waste your time and energy trying to make them understand. Keep that good feeling within you. If anything, use any feel of superiority you have over them and as a motivator to just ignore them and focus and put that energy towards your own drawing and improving yourself. These people are not helping you, and convincing them is not helping them and helping you, in my opinion. Energy should be preserved and channeled towards the things that are going to help you achieve your goals. That's my personal advice to you as somebody who I know is a library member, Alex, because I care about you, and I'm 44 now, and basically I've wasted a lot of energy and time in my life trying to debate with people, and even if you end up changing their mind, really, what have you gained out of it? So better to channel that energy towards your own work, because I know it doesn't seem like a lot of energy, but believe me, mental energy is the most taxing. Thank you, Patch Tunes. Amazing. See, this guy, I know a lot of animator is lower FPS than 24, but standard 24 on 2s. There you go. Is the idea, and I don't even think, I think the anime is not on 16 FPS. I'm not an anime aficionado, but the thing is everyone I've studied and looked at, it's all on 2s or 4s or 6s, but the frame rate is still 24, because that's what it should be. Sorry, I'm at work, so I'm behind. He's not a cyborg. He was crushed by a boulder when he was young. Awesome, all these backstories. Hi, I'm from Mexico and I'm interested in buying one course, but I'm more interested in building characters and proportions because I'm so bad in this skill. Can you give me advice about the one course that helps me get better at the construction of characters? To be very honest with you, I'll be very honest with you about my courses. Is the majority of the courses in the training library are mostly about making you a better animator, and while they will help you understand proportion and characters, they'll do it in a way which is teaching you how to build and work with shapes, because all characters are about building shapes and manipulating shapes. I have an anatomy course that teaches you how to simplify anatomy into shapes, but I don't have a specific character design course. And I'll tell you the reason, one of the reasons why I don't do that. I do have some in the edutainment archive that aren't very expensive. They're not courses. They're just videos where you watch me draw and explain. Maybe other people might do similar things like that and sell them off as courses, but I certainly don't call them courses. Like this, for example, I don't call a course, right? So the thing is, what a lot of people need to understand is character design comes into two of the laws of animation: the law of exaggeration and the law of appeal, right? But there's also a lot of other things going on in there, right? In order to be good at exaggeration, you got to know what it is you're exaggerating, right? So you got to know anatomy. If you know the anatomy of an animal, you can easily translate an anatomy of a man. If you know the anatomy of a man, you can easily translate anatomy of an animal. You may not be as good at one or the other, but it's not difficult to see the commonalities between them, right? So you need to understand what it is you want to exaggerate. Appeal. Appeal comes into understanding shape language, i.e. silhouette, curved line against straight line, ultimately the simplification of shapes. Now, if you do not understand appeal and you do not understand exaggeration, you do not understand how to draw shapes, you do not understand how to transform shapes, how to turn squares into triangles, how shapes define and create things, then you're going to always struggle at character design. You might buy a course on Udemy, or you might buy something on one of these things that you watch somebody draw something that you like and you're very impressed with their drawing, and then they show you how they do it, and they show you these outline silhouette shapes and things like that, and what you're getting from that is a very good dopamine fix, but the fundamental thing that you should be building is not being built. Okay, you are just going to be ending up mimicking them, and then when it comes to doing your own stuff, you're likely to get very disappointed and very demotivated because you're not addressing those underlying issues or fundamental things, which is line, shape language, positive space, negative space, shape simplification, exaggeration, and appeal. These are the things that come into building a character. Let me just give you a little example. I haven't sold a course on this because what Real Animator Training does is I don't give you false promises. I say there's only one way to get good at this, and this is the way. You either follow it or don't. It's on you, right? So I take you on a journey. Okay, we need to understand shapes. I'm going to show you, right? So for example, if you do not understand, right? For example, like when I talk about diamond, this diamond, right, represents the frontal bones of the face, right? This represents where all these sections are, right? Now, if you don't understand what this is, right, you're going to have a very difficult time. So this could be a woman, right? It could, depending on the shape of this, right, you could have a pronounced chin, right? So more of a chin up here, right? The brows coming up here, the ears at the side, right? Depending on the shape, you could have a longer, smaller chin, right? And a bigger nose, right? All coming within this diamond. But you need to understand what that diamond represents, right? You need to understand that diamond represents the frontal bones of the face. I've done this so many times because it's only through repetition muscle grows. So the more people who follow me and watch me will kind of think of this like a broken record now. So this is the frontal bone. This is the zygomatic bone. There's an arch here, right? This is the maxillar bone, right? This is the nasal bone, right? So here you got the nasal septum with the cartilage. We're not really going to talk about that. Now in between here fits the jawbone, right? Which comes around the side, right? On here. It's probably going to be more in between there like that, right? Now here you got the temple bone, the parietal bone, right? So all of this represents faces, right? So you want to design a character's face, you need to understand how the face is made up. So in real animated training, I say, well, hang on. You see a group of shapes. Okay, so this represents the frontal bone of the character, right? So the eye sockets there like that. So that's one big shape, right? Let's keep it into theme. Let's make it anime, right? So let me just make this like a anime style character, right? So then you've got the zygomatic bone, which comes here, and the maxillary bone, right? So a lot of anime is just like that. So that's kind of where the mouth is going to be, right? And then you've got the jaw, which comes underneath there. So unless you understand, and remember I was talking about the ear, like the helix, right? The tegos, the antitegos, the crus. Unless you understand what it is, you can't really. So now I'm turning it into triangles, right? And then I might want to put one up here and one down there, and then give it all this. It's always Aaron AOX as an anime character, right? So again, now that's about the facial structure. What about the hair, right? The hair is just like this, right? But I'm kind of like putting triangles in there, and I'm kind of breaking those triangles up and balancing curved lines against straight lines. So we're going into like line language and shape language. So in real animated training, I'm like, okay, well, you're talking drawing, so people are going to want to move a group of shapes when they can't even move this thing successfully, which is a bouncing ball, right? They have trouble squashing it. They have trouble stretching it and making it feel like it's the same thing, the same mass, right? Even I had trouble there, right? Let's stretch it a bit more, make it feel like the same. Let's squash it a bit more, make it feel like it's the same mass, right? So then let's start putting our diamond on this ball, right? Let's then start putting our eyes on this ball. Let's then put like a little triangle there, right? Which will represent a nose, right? Right. Then let's start cutting that in half like that and putting something on the side, right? So this is the way my courses teach you how to animate in the stuff that you follow along with. You can follow along with me on this, but you won't really be learning anything. You'll just be going through a dopamine fix of copying what I do, monkey see, monkey do, and not really retaining any of it. In the training stuff, you retain this stuff. Similarly with the body, right? So you have this representing the body, right? So you got the side, you got this hair, you got this hair, you got this but then along the middle line, that represents the clavicle bone, right? Then this represents the rib cage, where the midsection is come. Then this block here represents the pelvis, right? But then what is the pelvis, right? The pelvis is a block, right? With the false pelvis is the iliac crest at the side here, right? With the ischium underneath and the acetabulum at the sides. So we turn that into a box so you understand those shapes. So in a nutshell, what I would say to you is, you can, if you're looking for a specific course to help you just draw pictures by following other people that you feel good about doing that, then there are hundreds of them out there. But if you're looking for something that'll really ingrain in your psyche shape language and shape understanding, I would say even my basics animation course will show you how to simplify, because we take a bouncing ball and we turn it into a man. Um, and you may not like the drawing of the stick man that you're doing, but what you're doing is you're making yourself more aware of shape and how to manipulate shape and all that. So it's a long journey. It's like going to the gym and saying, when you come to me, you're coming to be elite. Okay, that's why my brand is Real Animator Training. You're not coming to play. You're not coming with an intention to just have a go and see how it turns out, right? If you are, thank you for the cash, but I don't recommend it. Okay. Um, my agenda is to really give you the skills. You'll see some of the work from the people on my library on that page that I showed you, where you can select the archives. If you click Join Real Animator Training Library, join now, ambanimation.com, you will see their work. You'll see what people are doing in 3 years. It's already crushing what people do when they come out of the likes of CalArts or places like that. So I give people those kind of skills, but those kind of skills is like the equivalent to somebody deciding to take up fitness at the gym, but deciding to do it for real. And then after about a year, they've got a six-pack, shredded like gills, completely defined, whatever, because they've stuck to it, they've repeatedly done those things, and they've got the results. It might not have been fun. It might have took a lot of discipline. It might have taken a lot of focus. You might have not really enjoyed doing it because you wanted to do something else. But it's those kind of mentality that separates the winners from the losers. So I don't have a definitive answer for you whether or not any specific course of mine is going to help you in that regard. They will definitely help you in the long run, which is what any great investment is for the long run. Okay. But if you're looking for a quick fix, Juan, I don't know if I have any specific course that will help you construct characters the easy way, because for me, the easy way is the proper way, because you do it once and you've got it for life. The other ways, which are selling themselves as the easy way, it's like burying shit under the rug. Your work will always stink, no matter how you might feel momentarily good about it, but down the line you'll find new problems, new issues, new things that you're just not aware of, and that's because you haven't attacked the elephant in the room, the basic, essential, core fundamentals of what it is you want to do, which should be that for any discipline. Somehow in the arts and animation, everybody runs away from it. Thank you, Alex, for recommending my anatomy course. Yes, Silver Sun, I'm not going to deviate from this fight scene now. I might be posting a lot of uni work on the Facebook group to show what I've been doing. It's okay. That group is there for you guys. As long as it's relevant work, I'm not going to remove it. I wondered why I saw Alex Becker's face on my wall, and I thought, do I want that on my wall? But then I thought, okay, let's leave it. Silver Sun, he's a good poster, and I read his comment as to why he might want it on there, so I left it up there. So go for it. Anything that's relevant. I'm very fair. I know you say these are not a course. However, I want to get more and more out of these on the rewatch. I'm having trouble polishing those initial insights. How would you? Well, the reason I don't call them a course, extended 13 elements, is because I know that for young people, they are very, very good because they're inspiring and they're motivational and they're talking about things that the young people or the people, enthusiastic people, are interested in, and they're enjoyable. But they're also a big dopamine fix that can take the eye off the essential ball. Okay, which is why I've been clear. I don't see that any harm in this material, and I'm not going to limit myself and limit my earning potential from not doing something that is beneficial to its viewer. But as my brand clearly states, real animator training, I got to be real with you from the get-go. It's like, well, you can watch and rewatch and rewatch, but just like I told the other guy, if you don't have those core fundamental understandings of the 12 laws, okay, and I'm not talking about 1 month of 12 laws, what some other people out there might be doing, okay, I'm talking about at least, years of understanding of the 12 laws, that even I have to go back to the 12 laws. Just like anatomy, it never goes away. It always is there. There's something there. So as I've looked at this, it's been really easy for me to break it down because of my understanding of those things. So you can watch them and rewatch them, and I'm so happy that my work is having that value for you extended. But you got to understand that, if anything, for the serious learner, these are supplementary things. They're not wastes of time. They're supplementary. They're not primary. Okay? Which is why I've clearly labeled the archive edutainment archives, away from training archives. Right? Now, as a martial artist, I go away, I train my body to do martial arts. I go and practice drills and I do that stuff, but then I might want to watch some professional fights or whatever for fun, and it affiliates with what I do, right? And I might watch it and pick up a few tips from those pros of, look how he slipped the jab, and look how he feinted and then moved in with his lead leg and then switched it up and then jumped back and back kicked. I might watch that and then go away and try it as for inspiration, but I'm watching it with somebody with a fundamental understanding. I'm not watching it like an armchair viewer who just doesn't know anything about fighting or training, and then just going, look, I could do better, and all this kind of what they usually shout when they're drunk, right? So it's the same with animation and drawing. And that's why I think a lot of people are being, not necessarily scammed, but I think a lot of people are being taken on a ride with a lot of these animation and drawing courses out there, because it's very easy, and it's something that I've refrained from doing. For the first 5 years, I didn't even approach anime because it was a flavor of the month. I'm looking at anime now because I'm genuinely interested. I've got my own project here where I want to kind of throw in a bit of an anime influence in there. We're doing fights. We're doing that kind of stuff. I want my thing to feel old but still feel a little current as well. So I'm genuinely interested, and I'm not picking an anime that's the flavor of the month at the moment, at this present. It would have easy to go on to an Arcane or something, or whatever is big right now. So, but it would be so easy to look at what's trending, release a lot of drawing videos on that, sell as many like low ticket products as you can, to just take advantage of these people, But the difference with real animator training and what I do is like, real means real results, okay? Lasting results, real skill. My agenda is different. We live in a world, a Hans Christian Andersen world, where the robotic nightingale is more valuable than nature, God created nightingale, right? The robotic nightingale is what people want, the artificial stuff. People want to play with digital puppets. Nobody wants to draw anymore. There's very few real artists out there, in my opinion. I don't care who I offend with that remark. That is just the truth as far as I see it. Where are the people drawing now? It's always looking for shortcuts. When you talk animation, it's always software. Bullshit, right? What we do is we create real artists, people who are passionate about drawing and understanding. When this thing took real patience, real skill, real dedication, and wasn't just a phase in somebody's life. Now, animation is often a phase in people's lives. When you're young, you like it. When you get older, you're not as into it, right? So you go, I want to be an animator for you're like 14 till you're 17, 18. Then you find out you just do something else. Maybe it lasts until your 20s. You do something else. It's just a phase, right? I don't create content for people like that. Maybe some of those people hop on board. Thank you very much. I hope I've been instrumental through that phase in your life. But what I create is lasting content that really creates a lasting change and a true positive transformation in people's lives, which is why I've taken that stance, 13 elements, to call it edutainment, right? Not training. And that's why the rewatch value is good, but it's still not going to help unless you have those fundamental skills. Little Nemo is on YouTube. Yes, it is. But to be honest, if I'm going to talk about great character animation, we'll look at Disney. Here we're looking at action and fight choreography, because however good Little Nemo is for anime in terms of that stuff, it still pales in comparison to the Milk Carl, the Glenn Keane, the Andreas Deja, the Mark Davis. We'll look at that stuff for quality character acting. Yes, heavy metal. I was a great fan of the 80s pulp airbrush artist Christos Achillos, or Achillios, and he did the poster for heavy metal, and I was excited to see what that final scene was like, and it was awful, unfortunately. Wow, I didn't know it was at that frame rate. I definitely recommend the anatomy course. Fantastic, desperate for. Very off topic, but I love how AMB's camera framing is framing him in a rule of thirds way and in a low angle, so he looks powered and in my life of power and control. If Red Fox was online, he would know where I got that from. Okay, and on that note, with that awesome comment by Octavio, I'm going to end the stream. Just so you know, in this new breakdown archive, none of this chat or fun is going to be included. We're just going to keep it purely on the content, because it's a lot of hours added to the content if these stuff stay in. I mean, the edutainment will still be edutainment. There may, in some streams, we may have a little bit of fun and banter with the audience, but there he is. There's Red Fox. But I think with this breakdown series, I want to really try and just stay on point, so the viewer just gets exactly what, there's a lot, we're covering a lot of stuff here. Okay, thank you so much for joining me on this live stream, and I will see you all on the next one. Over and out. Bye-bye.